Hi, I'm Aaron Schneider, and today I want to read to you two pieces from a novel that I have forthcoming in, I guess, probably about 10 months from Crow's Nest Books. Maybe a little less, more, I can't remember. The novel itself uses some prose, but a lot of poetry and other things. And it's about the production of arms in London, Ontario, which is where I live and where General Dynamics, one of the world's largest arms manufacturers, makes light armored vehicles, which we export, by we I mean Canada, exports, and the company exports to Saudi Arabia. So the novel is about that, and both of these pieces are about that. So first I'm going to start with the first piece, which is called First of All, They Aren't Weapons, They're Jeeps. And it's nominally found poetry in as much as it draws on statements made by Stéphane Dion and Justin Trudeau in the House of Commons during the 42nd Parliament, defending the arms deal that those LAVs are at the heart of, and that the Liberal government essentially approved. So this is a poem called First of All, They Aren't Weapons, They're Jeeps. Mr. Speaker, as I have said from the beginning, whenever the issue came up in the election campaign, and even before, we will not cancel an existing contract. Indeed, we will continue to respect contracts signed because people around the world need to know that when Canada signs a deal, it is respected. With the full support of the Prime Minister, we do not cancel signed contracts. I have been saying the same thing from the beginning. We will honor our good name, and even before, there are jobs in London and signed contracts. I have been saying that in a democracy, contracts signed by previous governments must be honored. And transparency and accountability and openly and transparently and transparency and openness and transparent and rigorous and rigor and transparency and open and transparent. We never miss an opportunity, and we have had several of those opportunities. One reason why we have had several opportunities we never miss. Working very positively, and particularly with regards to arms sales, carefully and diligently, with full transparency. The promise we made to Canadians, because Canadians are demanding a higher level of accountability, and our promise, and that we honor our good name and the jobs in London and the contract signed by the previous government and our foreign and defense policies particularly, and that we take very seriously our responsibilities, and that committee will work very seriously as well, and that is how we want to do things. Once, again, and even before, our word, commitments have been made to the world from the beginning, and the contract signed by the previous government must be honored at all costs. You don't cancel a commercial accord retroactively. It's just not done. Canada sticks to its word by keeping its word. And afterwards, from the beginning, I repeat, 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 with full transparency. When the contract is deemed valid, it's just not done. So that's the first piece. The second piece is a little bit longer. It's called The Monuments of Marne. It's set in a place in France where the company that manufactures these LAVs trains Saudi soldiers on their use, and particularly in the use of the turrets that are attached to them. So it's set on in part a firing range. That area of France is interesting because it played a crucial role in the First World War. I've attached some explanations along with these poems, so if you're interested in learning more about that, go and take a look there. But the most important thing to know is that the area is dotted with monuments to the First primarily, but also the Second World War. So this piece is called The Monuments of Marne. The most distinctive of these, although not the stateliest or the most famous, is the Mondement column. Reddish concrete poured over a metal frame, buckled in the middle, crude in its way, a relief cut into its base. Stands 12 stories tall and draws its length on the ground. The locals call it Le Carotte. Visitors comment on Marshal Joffre's mustache. In Sweeps itself, a young peasant woman stands in a field of grain, once a battlefield. Her head is bowed in grief, and the sheaves of grain are heavy at her feet. A modest statue, set against the bare south wall of the city hall, set against nothing. Life-sized and in the neoclassical style, a plain stone, contemplative in its intent, whose passive face insists with quietness. At Navarone Farm, the pyramidal ossuary topped with 3 fierce soldiers contains the remains of 10,000 mostly anonymous men killed during the Battle of Champagne. The name from the 19th century farmer, known for announcing "En Dieu n'avait rien," today there is nothing. At Dorma, 52 memorial stairs rise to the chapel, massive, faux medieval, and ornate, filled with a silence made solemn by bells. Hedged in by their ringing, it also commemorates, and a decorous light. At Soissons, in memory of the missing, 3 servicemen stand side by side, their features stylized, holding in stone how the loss are simplified. At La Ferté-sous-Jouarre, a sober and imposing block supports a sarcophagus. At Reims, a bronze man bends in thought. At Loivre, at Chorey-la-Hermonville, at the Butte de Chalmont, at Berry-au-Bac, at Malmaison, at Cherny-en-Lannoy, a chapel. At Troyes, at Soupir, at Buzancy, at Château-Thierry, at Aubrevive, at Conflècourt, at Saint-Pétahur, and beyond Marne, north, between the Somme and Ypres, the 2 limestone pylons at Vimy. Do the visitors from UMTS Canada notice them? They see them, of course, the signs directing tourists, the cemeteries flashing in angled rows, the sundial shadows of the columns tracking across the landscape. They know that the Vimy Memorial is that way, mentally sectioning a segment of the compass. Perhaps they see them but don't notice them. Perhaps they are lost in their own thoughts, distracted by conversation, looking forward to 3 days in Paris at the end of the trip. But they are there, and they are seen, at least in passing, from fast-moving cars, there, beyond the band of forest that circles the range. Thunderstorms are commonplace in the summer. At first, a bluing of the horizon, a deepening of the usual haze, a far-off unsettling, followed by the natural twin of the shells. Darkening as it approaches, the detonations spreading out in the air the way the guns do not. The range and the forest that reaches out towards the approaching storms. The trees remind them of the second growth along stretches of the 401, of the woodlots on farms in Middlesex County, of the clumps of trees that form green humps in the middle of fields, even the gently undulating landscape, like a bunched rug that has not quite been straightened out, reminds them of southwestern Ontario. The same rolling, scrubby forest, that same heaviness in the air, but the light here is different, clearer somehow, less forgiving in its revelations. They watch from the height of the bunker. The difference in the light, the weight of the horizon holds them back from talking about home, puts them off memory, the scene, the light, and likewise the dampened sounds of the guns. Thank you for listening.